Hello, best greetings from Kyiv, the capital of Ukraine. My name is Viktor Fursov, and you just welcome to my channel, Dr. Viktor Fursov, entomologist, beekeeper, teacher. And today I have a very special stream with questions which I have received during the from different people in different time. And some of them sounds like very interesting questions because they're not personal, but they have a general meaning. Maybe these questions will be interesting for people, for English-speaking audience, for Russian-speaking audience, for everyone who is interested in entomology, in insects, in nature as well. I hope so. Who is joining us and expected to have a stream in Russian will be satisfied as well. I will be trying to speak definitely and to be understood. Well, first of all, I have to notice that some people are quite interested in different videos which I have uploaded, and from time to time people sending me questions. And I have one very interesting viewer who is in Turkish Republic, and he's quite devoted to the study of entomology. He's interested in insects, and he sent me some interesting questions, and I promised to answer him, and I hope so for wider audience on these questions. Well, first question. When and how your interest in insects started, if you do remember? Well, very interesting question about first interest in entomology, in insects. Definitely, I do remember this time because it was time in a kindergarten, and it started in a springtime when approximately in the age of 4 or 5. Well, when spring is coming, everyone is going outside, and all children just walking around, running around in a kindergarten, and watching for something on the ground. And on the ground, a lot of leaves. And under these leaves, there are a lot of ladybugs. So this is a very common, very popular ladybugs beetle. So you put it on the finger and say, ladybug. Just go to your kids. Just your mother will give you the piece of bread. So we did the same, okay, in Russian. And so I guess so this was my first interest. And later I do remember in the same kindergarten that someone caught a rhinoceros beetle. Rhinoceros beetle was just a treasure. It was a really miracle to have it. Of course, it was not me, because I remember it pretty well that somebody kept a rhinoceros beetle in hand. And this rhinoceros beetle was with a big horn, and was quite a big one. Big one because, as I suggested, rhinoceros beetle so huge, was totally like my human palm. Okay, but this was a palm of a child. So rhinoceros beetle was smaller, palm was smaller, and child was smaller, but big, and impression was really great. So I said for me, oh, that's very interesting. I would like to collect and catch such a similar rhinoceros beetle to keep it in my palm like that. Because here you see my adult palm is bigger, so, and you can imagine that rhinoceros beetle is usually smaller than this end. But nevertheless, when you keep as a child beetle in your fingers like this, beetle is usually quite big, and rhinoceros beetle was very big. And after that, I have collected some dung beetle, not rhinoceros beetle. Rhinoceros beetle was still quite rare, even in a village. But in the dung beetles, they're more common. And you know, rhinoceros beetle is shining, brown colored beetle, and dung beetle is usually sometimes shining, but smaller, twice smaller than rhinoceros beetle. Like this rhinoceros beetle, and this will be 2 times smaller. And dung beetles were easily to collect, because when you are living in the summertime, in vacation time, in a village, So all children just were crawling around everywhere, just searching for something, looking for something. And we were going for fishing with my brothers. So we were fishing. And it was a huge landscape. It was a small stream. And we were fishing in near this stream for fish. But fish was not so abundant, not so much fish. You must be very, very careful. Despite to be very careful, you can collect just a little bit fish. And it was just a huge field. And on this field were quite a lot of cows. And after cows, just a lot of dung. So when we come into this place, and we were searching for beetles under the dung, because when you just open the dung plate, under the dung in the side of the soil, you can see some holes, several holes, and you can, if you are lucky, you can find some male of dung beetle, which is quite colorful and very attractive. So dung beetle, and as well female, not so attractive because male has a horn as well, like a rhinoceros beetle, like a small, but females without horn. So these were some of my first child's impressions, but I do not tell more, maybe later, because I have many questions. So what's about second question? Second question was quite interesting. Did your friends or family supported you to your entomology career? What were your ideas about entomology? What did they think? What do they think? Actually, they were quite supportive. My relatives, my parents were very supportive because they've seen my interest in nature and entomology. And from the early age, I was interested in biology. In particular, I was collecting different insects, kept them at home, watched for them. And it was not an ignorance. I was allowed to keep some small insects. And actually, I didn't keep all insects all the time. I had some hoopy fish, quite different fish in aquarium. I had some birds at home. Even to keep insects were quite difficult because in the latest days of school, for instance, I was interested in bumblebees, and to keep bumblebees were quite difficult because it was interesting to find the bumblebee nest. Yes, and I found bumblebee nest. Approximately it was a 9th, 10th degree in my high school, and I made a special house, special nest with a long entrance, wooden house, like a small bumblebee beehive, approximately this size. I put on the balcony. Balcony was on the 5th floor of a building, of an apartment's house, and bumblebees were flying from the ground till the 5th floor. Approximately it was actually August, and of course I collected this bumblebee nest in a village where my grandparents were living in this time. Again, it was collected near this huge place, near some dung and plants stock, near plant stock in the ground. I collected them one by one in the bottles and then put them inside this wooden nest and so brought to the city. My parents were not against it. I kept them on balcony, and it was quite interesting to observe them during the August time, just before school time. About another relatives were just quite curious about it, because I was curious. I was talking about some stories about insects and entomology and biology, and we were quite curious. And actually, in this time, it was time of the Soviet Union. Everyone in the society, was satisfied, because it was not a cruel capitalism. It was quite friendly relations between people. There are no nationalism between people. people were quite free in searching different literature and go into library, visiting university. It was no problem, especially in this time in the 70s, in 80s, before the crash of USSR. People were very polite and very acceptable to different ideas. Now people are more interested in capitalist ideas. They were suppressed by all these capitalist ideas, like how to survive in capitalism, how to earn money in capitalism, to get food, to get house, to get car, to improve your life. So this is a capitalistic pressure on the whole society. And in the Soviet Union time, there was no such pressure. People were very, very satisfied, and people were quite sure about their future. In a working place, in a university, in a school, everything was stable. It was very stable time of development of a socialist society. But now it's capitalism. Everyone just this idea of capitalism. If you follow me, idea of capitalism is still human to human is a wolf. Yes, and if you are just stronger wolf, you are stronger predator, so you have a lot more advantages instead to be phytophagous chicken, because other predators can kill and can eat you, or can give you just little seeds, so you will survive only on little seeds. Well, let's go to the next question. What is your favorite insect species, and can you explain why do you like it? Okay, you just can see here, just behind of me, these pictures a little bit on stream. You can see pictures of a Chalcid wasps. He's here not very big, but on my recorded video I will be bigger size. So, and my most interesting insects whom I am enjoying very much and whom I collected in different places, they have a very special behavior. All these insects were aerial insects. They are living in air. They can fly. So you can see here insects with different wings, open wings. Wings were standing like that, open wings. So they're very small. These tiny insects, very small, from 2 millimeters till 0.5 millimeter, half of millimeter, very small. And all of these insects were parasitoid and some phytophagous insects. When I just was writing my PhD in my Institute of Zoology of National Academy of Sciences, I was involved in the study of parasitic wasps of a family Trichogrammatidae. I'm studying family Trichogrammatidae. The genus Trichogramma is the most popular subject for biological control of different pests. So, family Trichogrammatidae includes different genera. Sorry, I speak English. For some Russian speaking, be careful, be patient. If you are interested, I can explain the answer in Russian. And among these beautiful parasitoids, there is also a group of underwater parasitoids, aquatic parasitoids. This is such unbelievable words, underwater parasitoids. What does it mean? It means that they are parasitizing different insects under the water. Under the water, you know, underwater diving beetles, for instance, were living underwater. Stone flies living underwater. Some larvae living underwater. So dragonflies larvae living underwater. And these parasitic wasps, they have wings. They have legs and wings and antennae like another parasitoids, but they are coming underwater to find their host, where they lay eggs and larva will eat another host underwater. Underwater, that's miraculous idea to find for parasitoids. Parasitoids finding food everywhere, everywhere. These parasitoids were everywhere. I wanted to show you some parasitoids in my hands. For example, these small parasitoids, Brachynidae, they can parasitize some caterpillars underwater. Underwater, so they can go underwater on plants, crawling on plants, searching for another insect and parasitizing them underwater. And these are Chalcid wasps. These are Entomologists, for instance. This is Pteromalidae insect. So some of insects, some parasitoids can go underwater using their legs. So they're crawling underwater. They're crawling underwater on plants and finding the host and ovipositing inside this host. Underwater! Yes, underwater! This is miraculous. So you can believe that bee, for example, bee can go underwater. Yes, but bee doesn't go underwater. So one wasp, one big, quite like hawk wasp, belonging to the family Pompilidae, going underwater to attack the spider underwater. So going like insect penetrate the surface of water like this, because surface is still very sticky, penetrating. Wings will be sticked or just abdomen. So insect penetrate the surface underwater and go underwater on plants. But the most interesting of them, which I'm talking about, they just appeared in the movie Life Undergrowth of a very famous British BBC man and BBC observer, David Attenborough. I gave him this insect, and this insect can go underwater and can move underwater. How insect can move underwater? This is a tiny parasitic wasp, just 1 millimeter, can move underwater using legs. So moving underwater. So interesting. This is a genus Pristwichia. Very unique, very special insect living underwater and moving underwater by legs. Pristwichia, this is a tiny parasitic wasp which has wings. Two different races, one with wings and one without wings. So, and Pompilidae is a big wasp, quite a big wasp, but Pristwichia is a very small, just only 1 millimeter, even half of millimeter. But what she's doing? She's going underwater, swimming underwater with legs easily. And if you can take it out of water, put it somewhere out of water in petri dish, Pristwichia will die out of water after 10 minutes. After 10 minutes. But underwater can live half of day, 1 day, even 5 days, can live completely underwater, Pristwichia living. But Pristwichia is egg parasitoids. This is my famous, most interesting insect for me. Pristwichia is going under the water searching for eggs, not caterpillars, for eggs. And these are eggs of different diving beetles. Searching for eggs of diving beetles, sit on them and turn in an abdomen and lay eggs inside eggs of diving beetles. Two different hosts, diving beetles and dragonflies, eggs of dragonflies. So these two hosts, two unique different groups, diving beetles with eggs underwater, or dragonfly eggs also underwater. And where were these eggs underwater? Usually these eggs were just somewhere inside the plant, inside the tissue of plant. So even little bit only visible, only small piece of egg can be visible from the plant. So parasitoid is coming, searching with antennae for eggs of dragonflies or eggs of diving beetles, Dytiscidae family, or different families of dragonflies, and then turning around and laying eggs, and it's going all this process under the water. Quite miraculous that Trichogrammatide family, very large, but this is a unique group in Trichogrammatide family, and some other families like Eulophidae families, Diapridae families, Braconidae families of parasitic wasps. They have some specific groups which parasitizing eggs, larvae or pupae of insects under the water in such very specific habitat, which is very unique. And finally, I can say, what about Pristrichia? Pristrichia is very unique, very small, 1 millimeter size. And for example, but widely distributed in the world. Even one genus close to Pristrichia found in Australia, but very and described in the genus Lutzmicron, very tiny, like a micron. Several species found in India, Pristrichia, under the water. How people found them? People found putting somewhere near the water, near the stream, near the river, near the pond, these yellow plates with water, with shampoo and salt. So some insects can crawl around and can fall down in these yellow plates. For instance, very easy to buy them in a supermarket and put them near the pond, near the lake, near the stream, and collect some insects which are living in pond, in a stream, in a river, and then will be flying, crawling everywhere around, and couldn't be diving. Some insects, if it will be no salt, with salt they will dive quickly, but without salt they will be still crawling and swimming here inside these yellow plates. But the most productive way is to find this aquatic parasite is to find eggs inside plants. You can collect like this stick, different plants, and then open these plants, and look very carefully under microscope, or with maybe with some magnification lenses. Look very carefully. Okay, and you can find some scratches on plant, and under the scratches you can find eggs of different beetles or dragonflies. And if you keep them in some boxes, in petri dishes, inside water, especially keep them inside water, some parasitoids can emerge. For instance, Pristrichia still have not been described and found in United States of America. Big secret, I'm telling you. It has not been found. This species has not been found in Canada. Yes, if you can put these plates, or if you can collect some aquatic plants, open plants, you can find eggs of dragonflies, eggs of diving beetles, and you can find that they are parasitized. Eggs, how you can say that they are parasitized? Eggs were just like a oval shape. This can be different special stream about it. Oval shape, and not parasitized eggs, they have a white color. And if parasitoid is coming and laying eggs inside eggs of other insects, egg becoming yellow colored with some visible larvae inside egg. And finally, you can see through transparent shell of egg, you can see even some parasitoids inside the egg. So this is a miracle. So I gave you just very, very big secret. So you can find new species of a genus Pristrichia in the United States of America. Some specialists are working in the United States of America, but it's quite difficult still go to the lake, to the pond, to the river, to a stream, and find this interesting small insect, this interesting small parasitoids. This will be a unique project in your school, in your university, for your master degree. And if you can send this material to us, to Ukraine, to my Institute of Zoology of National Academy of Sciences, we can immediately, quickly type and write paper, scientific paper about finding of this insect in your area, maybe in India, maybe in Australia, maybe in the United States of America or in Canada, and you can publish it, and will be good promotion for your university, or maybe for your degree, maybe for your study, maybe for your job. Yeah, so search for interesting insects. Some interesting insects can help you promote your job. What's about another insect? And another questions. Number 4 question. Why I'm studying Chalcid wasps? Why am I studying Chalcid wasps? Very good question. Very, very, very serious question, by the way. Why did you find? Because when I was in university and I was writing my degree on university, I said, I'm interested in Hymenoptera, to study Hymenoptera insects. And my the chief of department in Voronezh State University in Russia. I've been graduated in Russia in Voronezh State University. It's still now a very good team of entomologists and algologists and invertebrate zoologists working in Voronezh. And chief was Oleg Pavlovich Negrobov. And he sent me for study to St. Petersburg in this time, to Zoological Institute. This is a very special story, because Zoological Institute in St. Petersburg in Russia, far away was from my university. Well, but he said, specialists who are studying Hymenoptera are working over there. So you can make consulting with them. Which group can be interesting, what can be useful for study in Hymenoptera, maybe in small parasitic wasps. And I was invited to the laboratory of Vladimir Alexandrovich Tropitsyn. Vladimir Alexandrovich Tropitsyn, he was a chief of a group who just was working with the Chalcid wasps. Chalcid wasps, yes, these are Chalcid wasps. These are Chalcid wasps. And I was still student, and he said, yes, so you're quite serious about study of small insects. Well, there are a lot of insects, but some parasitoids were quite interesting and useful for study. It can be possible to find new species, new places with distribution. So new findings can be everywhere, in your area, everywhere. If you will be very careful, you can find some of them. And he advised me to search for these tiny, small aquatic parasitoids. This is a big secret. Now, Dr. Tropitsyn, Dr. Vladimir Alexandrovich Tropitsyn is living near Moscow, in some suburbs of Moscow. He is on pension after working, and he is not very young now. But I'm very pleased that he is just still living near Moscow, in suburb of Moscow. So, and he advised me to study small parasitic wasp of a family Trichogrammatida, because he was a chief and supervisor of a whole superfamily Chalcid wasps. Chalcid wasps, he supervised all specialists in the former USSR, and gave just very serious, very strict, very diligent and very unique advices for all specialists who started their career in the study of parasitic Hymenoptera. So such promotion was very useful for me to visit this place. And after that, after studying parasitoids in Voronezh University, I came to Ukraine, to Kiev, where I did my PhD research on the family Trichogrammatida as a whole family in Ukraine. Well, next question. Where's next question? Well, this question quite funny, which I'm uploading the video on YouTube channel. Do I like it? Yes, well, I like my videos, and it's not very easy to upload them. But if I didn't like them, I didn't upload them. That's quite easy answer. And definitely, these my videos are intended for education for entertaining, certainly, and maybe for development of entomology in a general sense. Because entertaining, I'm not jumping, I'm not talking too much funny stories. I'm talking here professional stories, professional stories about entomology, about parasitoids. So this stream is devoted to parasitoids. I wanted to tell only the stream about parasitoids, but finally I started to make questions, answers wider. Next question. So if you have a question in English or in Russian, type your question here just on the right part. Well, next question is difficult. If there are, what are the worst things among being of entomologist? Among being of entomology, what is the worst thing? Quite curious, very unusual question about worst thing in being entomologist. Difficult things to be entomologist. Well, to be interested in entomology is difficult to be interested when you are just child in a school time. Then you are becoming independent in university. In university, everyone usually ignorant about your interest. Nobody doesn't worry about your interest. Are you interested in insects, in plants, in fish, in bees or bumblebees, or just in mathematics or physiology, biochemistry, or in DNA? Nobody is not interested. You are interested in something. So this is your particular interest. So nobody worried about it. Only your relatives can support you, or can be ignorant, or can be reluctant to your interest, or can be supportive very much. My parents were very supportive, and they supported me in my study in university, supported my study for my PhD in another city, because I came to another city from my home city. I came to Ukraine, to another city. I've been living for myself more than 7 years. After 3-4 years of my PhD study, I've been graduated with my PhD, and then I've been living alone for 7 years in separate apartments, like student. Actually, it was quite hard time. But when you're young, it's not so. It's difficult to push forward, because it's difficult to find new place, difficult to find new work, difficult to understood some relations with people, difficult to be accepted in a job place. But if you have interest and you can ask another people can help you. So the general question that if you have a problem, if you have questions, ask these questions from another people. And always, if you're asking questions, you will find another people, you will find another special situation which can be very helpful for you to answer for these questions, to solve these small, big, tiny, serious problems. And difficult question to be entomologist was a difficult time after the crash of a USSR. Well, this was a difficult time to be entomologist and to be scientist in the former USSR, like in Ukraine, in Russia, because in the time between 90s till the 2000 years, between these years, scientists in our country, in Ukraine, have been paid very little. Now they paid relatively enough for survival. No, not compatible. There is no comparison with a salary in a Western or Eastern world. Definitely, this is in West or in East, people are earning as entomologists twice, not twice, but 20 times more, 10 times more, 20 times more, or even more and more. So that's why if you're just living in your country, like Russia or Ukraine, in our situation, difficult things to be entomologist, to receive not very high profit from your job, because salary of scientists in the former USSR country is not very high. In other countries, like this question came from Turkish Republic, salary of a scientist is honorable. So position of a scientist in Turkish Republic is serious and well paid. How to say? Several times more well paid rather than in Ukraine. So, and that's quite good. Not several times, approximately 5 times more, even more than 5 times more. So what's the same I could say about Germany, Poland, France, United Kingdom, and America. So the job of entomologist, if this is a job, usually well paid. So this is a good idea to be entomologist if you have devotion to entomology. What next question? Why? What is next? Next question. Why scientists kill insects? Why scientists kill insects? That's an interesting question. I usually try to be very polite about people who are killing some animals for the study. Difficult to be polite about entomologists, but entomologists killing insects for the study, for the science. So you must be so serious to accept it, because as one of my friends, zoologists, said, if you do not like to kill animals for the science, which is a serious subject and serious question, let's go to the botanical institute. Let's go to the university to study botany or physiology without animals, because to study zoology, to study entomology, you need to collect some animals, even some for zoologists, some you need to collect some vertebrates and study dead vertebrates animals. And entomologists who study insects, you need to collect some insects in different traps and by different methods and study them in collection usually dead. If you are just study behavior and ecology of insects, it's possible to study living insects, but still they will die after a certain period in laboratory. But to study their life cycle, you can collect insects and you can manage studying their life cycle in laboratory culture, for example. So you can study laboratory culture of insects as well, not killing insects. But to kill them, okay, that's a subject which we need to do because we need to study them to receive scientific knowledge. This is like study anatomy for medical students, medical workers. You cannot study anatomy without only with computer, only with pictures, only with photographs. You need to study anatomy, and entomologists need to study insects themselves in collections. Maybe final question from this man from Turkish Republic. What do you recommend to young insect lovers? Young insect lovers, very interesting question. I was surprised that some people saying that hello to Roman. Some people saying that their parents, their relatives do not support them in their interest, in their study, in their behavior, in their curiosity. Yes, you need to understand that the world is very different. If you like something, it doesn't mean that it will be interesting for somebody else. If I liked insects, it was not a subject for another people, for all my relatives, by the way. If I can count my relatives direct relatives on my father, from my father's side and from mother's side. This will be more than 20 people, maybe 30 people. I counted them. I was only one among 30 people who is studying insects and who is studying science. Even, you say, many people like bees and honeybees. But in this time, honeybees were very rare business. Nobody didn't have honeybees. But I've seen honeybees in the apiary, actually, in a village of my grandfather from the side of my mother. Yes, and I was very curious when I was coming just near the honeybees farm. It was very interesting. I didn't come because my relatives were worried about honeybees. Honeybees look like dangerous. So that's why, if you have interest, ask yourself questions from another people, and other people will tell you the answer. For example, I was interested in bumblebees and Hymenoptera bees, and I found name of scientists in literature, like Viktor Rebennikov, very famous entomologist from Novosibirsk. I sent him a letter. I found an entomologist, name is Khalifman, Iosif Khalifman, very famous in the Russian community, who was writing books, popular books for a wide audience. I found somewhere, at this time we didn't have computers, but we had different journals, we had a subscription for newspapers, for journals, and I received several journals with nature articles. So I found address and I found name of a scientist in a journal. I sent a letter and I said, I'm interested to contact with Iosif Khalifman, the writer who was writing about bumblebees and honeybees and ants. And he answered me. He sent me a postcard, and we were exchanging with postcards with him by post mails. And it was quite improving, interesting communication. He said, very soon my new book about wasps will be published. I was on the first degree of my university. I said, oh, very interesting. Let's go to the bookstore. Yes, that's great. I found his new coming book published in 1985, approximately 84, when I was still in university. I said, and I wrote him, yes, I found your book, and asked him one question, another question. And then now that's quite easier, much easier to communicate, not with your relatives if you have harsh time with your relatives who do not understand you, do not accept your curiosity, your serious interest, or just hobby interest. You can contact with people like me. By the way, here on YouTube, here on Facebook, or somewhere near your university, near your school, near your elementary school, you can type question on Facebook community and ask question. You can type question in iNaturalist community society. You can take photos now much easier with a smartphone. Very easy. So communication became very easy now. So, and actually, other common people in community, like people who is like in gardening, for example, can advise you something, or some serious scientists like me can send you kind of advice, or maybe can send you some papers, articles, scientific articles, or books, even books. Yes, now it's easy to, not easy, but possible to download some books from internet. I download many books, scientific books, not popular books, scientific books about insects from internet. In some countries it is not permitted, but in Ukraine, in Russia, it's permitted very much, because we have C-Hub server, and we can download for free with no money You can download for free many articles, scientific articles for the study, because when you study something under the microscope, after that you need to type publication paper with the help of some previous publication, previous articles, previous books. So now it is became easier to find literature with internet. If you are interested in specific group of insects, in specific mode of life of insects, behavior, ecology, it's possible to type question in and find it in internet. You need to study English language. This is a very important advice for young lovers of insects, because you need to communicate with people using English language. For Russian speaking people, easier, we have a wider audience. Russian is very big. Russia very big country, and the Russian speaking communities worldwide, from north till the south, from the west till the east. That's very good. Till from Chukotka till the United Kingdom, people Russian speaking living now. From the north, from Yamal and Timur, now Russian speaking people living and watching, till the south parts of Perth, or maybe Sydney, or somewhere south, till Tasmania. Some Russian speaking people living in Tasmania and in South Africa, and even somewhere in Argentina, and can search and find something useful in Russian and in YouTube. But YouTube community is growing slowly because internet is promoting something funny. Scientific research is not promoted so much because this is very narrow strait of life. But nevertheless, I'm trying to make some promotion of science. Aren't you? Yes, aren't me? Yes, I hope so. I did some improvement for scientific interested for some people. And some people connected with me from Russian speaking community, for example, connected from Peru, from Namibia, from South Africa, from Thailand, people from Russia as well, from different cities of Russia, from India, people talking with me after watching my video on YouTube. So that's why I hope it was helpful for some people. And now I want to answer the questions from another person, because another person asked me long time ago questions because he expected to come to Ukraine. We have not much time rest, but still, this person wanted to come to Ukraine from Czech Republic. From Czech Republic, I do not tell the name for privacy. And but questions were very interesting. For example, I answered, but I'm interested to repeat it again for a wide audience. First question: in Czech Republic, it's possible, for example, for students or other interested people with some knowledge in biology to make a special practical study, praktikum, or internship in the museum or at the institute. Is it possible, or is it common in Ukraine too? This means to work, for example, for 2 or 3 weeks at the museum or Museum of Natural History without payment as a freelancer or volunteer. Some of our students ask me this question. Quite interesting question, very interesting question. If some people like to come to our department, for instance, to study for free without payment, yes, I guess so. This is possible, but for beginning, we need to communicate with all steps in the institute and in department. Definitely, this is very polite and professional way. In general, it is possible if you study specific subject which is deposited in this department. For example, in department of vertebrates, invertebrates, department of entomology, there is a chief of department of each department. You need to ask permission from the chief of a department. Maybe the chief of department is very busy, or maybe he has a special opinion about it. If you want to study, for instance, these parasitic wasps, like behind of me, and you are from Laos, Taiwan, or China, and you are interested to study parasitic wasps, and you come in for your personal internship, or you are from United States of America, why not? But first of all, you need to ask chief of my department, because I am not a chief of department, but chief of department can allow you to come and make some preparations before, because you need what? You need to microscope, you need light, you need space, you need some drawers with insects, you need attention as well. You need it because somebody need to give you a key, some need to follow you just to show you how to live everywhere, and how somebody need to close the door and department as well, some security questions. So if chief of department will allow you to come, okay, first of all, we need to discuss it with the department chief. Well, next question, also regarding my institute. Yes, very interesting one. I guess that your Schmalhausen Institute has a very large entomological collection. Is it a largest collection in the Ukraine, or yet in other state collections with almost the same size in Ukraine? Are any large private collections? Well, very good question, by the way. Very good questions, especially about entomology collection. Actually, there are enough large and Ukrainian Entomological Society in Ukraine. There are some entomologists who are studying systematics, taxonomy, and ecology, and there are some who study ecology and some plant protection, for example. Usually plant protection departments has no collection. As a rule, plant protection, forest protection. There are some departments and chambers in universities, and it depends from the specialist of university who is studying this particular group of insects. For example, very large entomological society in Kharkiv city. This is eastern part of Ukraine. In Kharkiv, there is an agricultural university in Kharkiv. In university. So, for example, and we have even special apartments, not apartments, we have a special building for Entomological Society of Kharkiv, where we're making some meetings. And there is a strong team of entomologists in Kharkiv. There are entomological collections in Lviv city on the eastern border of Ukraine. This is a Lviv Natural History Museum. There quite a large collection of Diptera, Hymenoptera bumblebees, beetles, different groups in Lviv. In Rivno city, a specialist working on Diptera. There is a Diptera collection. In our department, we have two departments in my institute, Schmalhausen Institute of Zoology of National Academy of Sciences in Kiev, Ukraine. We have two departments, one of general entomology and one of department of entomophagous insects, like here on this picture, Hymenoptera. One is here, this is parasitic Hymenoptera, and general entomology has a department has collection of a Diptera, Coleoptera, then flies, Diptera, Coleoptera, butterflies, and moths, small microlepidoptera and macrolepidoptera. Microlepidoptera, tiny, small lepidoptera, and macrolepidoptera, and nocturnal moths in a collection of beetles, Coleoptera, especially beetles of Carabida beetles, Curculeanidae beetles. This is a department for general entomology, and several very large groups of flies, diptera flies, Tephrotidae, Syrphidae, and many other small and big groups of diptera flies, if I didn't miss any. And also collection of Orthoptera, grasshoppers, crickets, everything belonging to the Orthoptera. And it depends from the specialist, our scientists who are working in the department. And so some other specialists working in some other universities, like in Kiev University, there are some specialists who are working on Specie wasps, in Kiev National University, Taras Shevchenko University. Specialists working on Specie wasps, specialists working on Odonata dragonflies. And there are some groups of entomologists who are working in Odessa, very big group and team in Odessa. This is a Odessa Institute of Biotechnics who are working for practical questions of entomology, and groups who are working in Odessa University who is working with insects and with mites. And there are some groups of mites which are studied in our university, in our institute, and in some other cities of Ukraine. Well, I guess these are some questions. And what about private collections? There are some private collections of beetles, butterflies in Ukraine, but it depends. It needs to connect with specialists who are particularly working with the beetles and butterflies, because they have a very private connections only, because these connections only built on the private communication. This is not official communication. So probably people who are working with beetles and butterflies, and most in Ukraine, some have connections with private collections, so possible to connect with as well. And from time to time, we're making meetings, Entomological Society making meetings in Ukraine. So usually twice, every 2 years, there is a meeting, like a conference of Ukrainian Entomological Society, and every 4 years there is a meeting of general, like a congress of Ukrainian Entomological Society. And one interesting question, finally, I will say, is it allowed to catch, for private reasons, some butterflies and beetles and insects in Ukraine, somewhere in open landscape? We are not talking about species in the Red Book, such species living in the native reserves, national parks. No, just about species living in a natural environment, because in Czech Republic, it's very strictly for private people to collect any insect without any official scientific background or papers, and without permission. For the question is quite interesting, but answer is very simple. Fortunately now, even not in reservations, in national parks, in a simple in a common landscape, it is possible to collect butterflies, flies, beetles, any type of insects, moths, without special permission. If you need to study them in a reservation in national parks, it needs additional permission to come to national park and to take some insects, small part of insects, for scientific purposes, to study them at the laboratory. I didn't answer for all questions. Hopefully some question will come soon under this video. Well, one person is again asking question, if I want to collect in Ukraine, do I need collecting permits? No permits for collecting insects in Ukraine. You can collect everywhere without permits. Not everywhere except national reservations, national parks, so protected areas. Outside of protected areas, near cities, in a forest, in any kind of landscape, in the mountains, near a river, near a pond, near a stream. It's collected free of charge, free without any paper. So if you're coming, any small insects or big insects can be collected free of charge without any special permission. This is not like somewhere in Peru, maybe in Brazil or in India, where it is prohibited to collect any type of, or in Australia, it's prohibited to collect any insect outside without scientific purpose. In Ukraine, it's allowed. It's considered with scientific purpose belonging to the scientists. Scientists will collect only for scientific purposes, and private collectors were not very common in Ukraine, by the way, and not many private collectors come into Ukraine, at least now. Maybe we can discuss about it later. Thank you for watching this time. Thank you for being with me. Thank you for your attention. I hope so. It was interesting and funny and entertaining and knowledgeable for you. So welcome to next time to my video streams, and welcome to connect me with through emails or through Facebook or through Skype, or just type, if you are on Gmail, type your question under this video. Good luck and see you soon on my channel. Bye bye. See you soon. Bye bye. And don't forget to visit my Patreon page to support me on Patreon page. Patreon page needs to be grown, because some support will be very supportive and promote. It will be good promotion. Next time I will talk about some interesting stock. Maybe I will tell about it later after one break in Russian language. Thank you. Keep in touch, and Russian stream is coming very soon. Thank you for your attention. Bye bye.